So we'll first go over the rules of engagement. That you can find those on, you can find the resolutions on page 26. I'll go over some of the basic rules with you right now. So how it's going to work is the AGM chair, myself, will read the resolution and ask for a mover and a seconder to each resolution. Delegates are asked to use the raise hand function to move, second, and vote in favor. The mover, seconder, and anyone speaking to a motion must give his or her name before speaking. Visitors and non-delegates do not have voting privileges and cannot move, second, or amend motions. After the motion has been moved and seconded, the mover has the first privilege of speaking, followed by the seconder. Anyone wanting to speak to the resolution can use the raise hand function. After a resolution has been duly moved and seconded, and if no one speaks in opposition, the vote may be taken without further debate. The mover of the motion has the privilege of closing the debate on the resolution. Any delegate or speaker other than the mover may speak only once to a resolution. The delegates will be asked to vote on a resolution by using the raise hand function. Each speaker to a resolution shall be limited to 3 minutes. Delegates wanting debate on a resolution to be closed may ask informally for the question to be called or formally move the previous question. A motion for the previous question must be moved, seconded, and carried by a 2/3 majority of the delegates present and voting. So we'll move right on in. Your resolutions are on page 26. And you'll notice at the top of the first two were the financial resolutions. They have been dealt with already. So we will start with the first resolution and I'll read it out. Be it resolved that ABP continue to work with partner organizations to effectively, let me start again. I'm missing the preamble here. Whereas reliable access to the province of Alberta's land and water resources is critical for the viability of the beef industry, therefore, be it resolved that ABP continue to work with partner organizations to effectively work with the government of Alberta, lobbying sustainable solutions to issues that arise from multiple use demands. For example, resource extraction, recreation, forestry, etc., on the land and water resources. This was passed at out of all 5 zones. So may I have a mover for the resolution? Please.
This is Fred.
The resolution. Please use the raise hand function. Oh, Melissa Van Sickle. Seconder. Aaron Moskalik. Would the mover wish to speak to the resolution? Melissa, would you care to speak to the resolution?
I think she maybe just moved it.
Okay, I think, would the seconder wish to speak to the motion? Aaron, would you wish to speak to the resolution? Okay, we have to hear a yes or no or something because I can't see everybody's picture faces on the screen here. Okay. Mover and seconder do not wish to speak to the resolution. Does anybody from the delegation wish to speak to the resolution? To open discussion. Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of the resolution, please use the raise hand function. So it looks to me like it's been carried. Our vote counters are Karen Schmidt and Caitlin Laverdure. Can you concur that it's motion's been carried?
Yep, motion's been carried.
Okay, perfect. So we'll move on to resolution number 2. It reads as follows. Whereas there are increasing instances of people trespassing and committing vandalism on farming and ranching operations linked to growing public interest in accessing nature, but limited awareness and or capacity of a public land system, including parks and recreation areas to satisfy the needs. Therefore, be it resolved that ABP work with the government of Alberta to develop and implement solutions that allow responsible recreational use while preventing impacts to farmers and ranchers and promoting the environmental sustainability of Alberta's lands, both private and public. This is out of the Southwest. Would someone wish to move the resolution? Fred Lozman? And wish to second? Sheila Hilmer. Thank you. Would the mover wish to speak to the resolution?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we just heard from Mark that this is already one of the files that he's following with several aspects involved in this. And it's something that ABP has pursued for years. So I don't see any harm in reinforcing that by supporting this resolution. Thank you.
Would the seconder wish to speak to the resolution? The seconder wish to speak to the resolution?
No.
Okay. The seconder waives. Any further discussion? Any further for discussion? Open the discussion of the resolution. Sorry, got a little tongue tied there. Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor of the resolution? It looks to me the resolution is carried. Ballot counters concur.
Yep.
Okay, the resolution is carried. Okay, we'll move on to resolution 3. Whereas the Alberta Game Policy Advisory Committee, AgPAC, is a majority vote committee and currently hunting, fishing, conservation groups outnumber land-based stakeholder groups by a margin of 6-1. Also at this time, agendas, minutes, and recommendations, conclusions are not public and freely distributed among stakeholder membership. There is no transparency in AgPAC, a committee established to gather stakeholder input and fairly represent stakeholders' interests in the province. Therefore, be it resolved that ABP lobby Alberta Environment and Parks to ensure equal representation exists between landowner stakeholder groups and hunting, fishing, conservation groups. Also, Alberta Environment and Parks should make agendas, minutes, and recommendations and conclusions of the Alberta Game Policy Advisory Committee and AgPAC subcommittees public and allow stakeholder representatives to freely disseminate information among respective stakeholder membership. This come out of the Southeast. Would someone be willing to move the resolution? Brody Hogan, thank you. Someone willing to second the resolution? Brad Osadchuk. Would the mover wish to speak to the resolution?
Thank you, Howard. This goes back to the conversation we had with producer that
was really frustrated by the lack of representation when he would attend these meetings. As it states in the preamble, when it's 6-1, the landowner doesn't have too much of a voice. So this is hopefully just putting light on the fact that we need a stronger voice for the landowners and our producers on these reoccurring issues that seem to come up every single year in regards to hunting and access. So
Thank you. The seconder wish to speak to the resolution?
No, I don't have anything to add, Chair.
The seconder waives. Anyone wishing to speak to open discussion? Darren Bevins?
Okay, so I've been the I've been the representative for AVP at that at the AgPac meeting for the last couple of years. It's a diverse group. There are a lot of different parties there. The two landowner groups are AVP and the municipalities association. So there's two of us. My concern with this is, number one is we are a guest there, and I consider it. I believe it's a privilege that we've been invited to be at that table. My feeling is quite strong that if there's other groups that would like to be there, then they should lobby that themselves, rather than us trying to push to have other people like us, more people like us there. And if we need a stronger voice, then let's get a stronger voice there. If we're not carrying our weight, I'm more than happy for someone else to help carry that. The second part of it would be the agendas, minutes, and recommendations. And so this is a sounding board for government. It's a fairly informal group. It is a sounding board, and if the minutes, agendas, recommendations, that are discussed there are just made fully public all the time, there's no reason to have a sounding board. It's like we can't publish everything in the for the public initially. Sometimes they just got to bounce things off somebody. So I guess I speak against it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Darren. Any further discussion? See none, would the mover wish to close? Yeah, go ahead, Brody.
no, I'm good.
Okay. All right, so we'll movers closed. We'll call the question. All in favor of the resolution? Okay, all opposed? Oh. Can those in favor please lower your hands? So ballot counters, looks like the motion's been defeated.
Agreed.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Okay, the resolution has been defeated. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to resolution number 4. Whereas this will assist in bettering the Albertan and Canadian cattle herd by providing transparency between all levels of production, cow-calf feedlot slaughter. Therefore, be it resolved that ABP lobby for the mandatory sharing of radio frequency identification tag information, such as slaughter plant carcass data, that come out of the central zone. Would anyone wish to move the resolution?
Colin Campbell moves the resolution.
Colin? Seconder?
Rod Carline, so seconds.
Rod? Okay, It's been moved and seconded. With the mover wish to speak to the resolution?
This has been a long-standing problem. We've been promised the free flow of information in order to improve performance. One of our delegates has a small, well, a fairly good-sized little feedlot, and he puts all the effort of putting this tags in and maintaining data, and then has a gap in the data in terms of slaughter plant immaterial or material for individual carcass performance. So I think that this has been a long-standing issue and a promise, but I would like to put it forward.
Okay, would the seconder wish to speak to the resolution?
Yes. Yes,
Go ahead.
I just, again, it's, the intent of this is really narrow, which is focused at those who are doing their own sire selection, finishing their own calves and getting them slaughtered, and thus are getting lot carcass data and can't assimilate it back to sire selection. So, but it's one example within the backbone of information that is within the ability of once we use that electronic tag and utilize it. So it's for the betterment of all of us. I think it's worthy to support and see where we can get it to instead of sitting back and doing nothing.
Okay. Anyone wish to speak in opposition to the resolution to open discussion? Fred Lozman?
Yeah, there's probably better delegates than me to speak to this. I know Chris is with, you've been with CCIA, Howard, so I'm not sure you're in the position to talk about it, but we were promised that this information would be kept very private when this was all established. So I think for ABP as an organization to lobby that some of our members be sharing that information without their will, that I don't think that's a good way to go. So I don't know about this particular producer and what problems they've having. My experience has certainly been that the packers are very willing to give any carcass information tied to CCIA number. You just have to request it. So I don't really see the value of going down this road.
Okay, thank you. I see Lee, Graham, Jim, Chris, and I think I can guess which one of the four has something to say. I'm guessing it's Lee.
Go ahead, guess.
Go ahead, Lee.
I got a couple of things. One of the things we have to remember is that RFID tags are intended for the sole purpose of traceability in Canada. And one of the issues that we have is that with the packing plants right now, when they purchase that animal, they actually purchase the RFID number that goes with it. So technically it is their data that they own. There is avenues to be able to purchase that back now. One of the other things that I think we have to remember is that carcass quality is so variable based on time of year, on the feedlot it's gone to, on how the animal was fed, that to make genetic decisions based on that data from a carcass value is very extremely difficult. I think one of the things we have to look at from that standpoint is actually what you are, if we could get some information back like average daily gain, that would actually have more relevance back to improving our cow herd than it would carcass quality. So I'm actually going to abstain from the vote because of some conflicts on this, but I'm going to, I'm willing to talk to anybody about it. So.
Fair enough. Thank you, Lee. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Would the mover wish to close discussion?
No further comment.
Okay, thank you. We'll call the question. All in favor? So 3. So this might be a closer one. The ballot counters, give me some numbers, please.
Like we're at 9 in favor, so maybe just call for opposed. Give me a sec to clear
Yeah.
these hands.
So we'll clear everything off. Then all opposed. Looks to me like it's defeated. I would believe there's 9. There was 9 in favor and
12.
12 opposed. So the motion is defeated. Okay, we'll move on to resolution number 5. Whereas livestock mortality insurance premiums have gone from 8% of purchase price for full coverage to 16% in the last 10 years, and ranchers buying cattle on credit have to insure but can't afford the premiums, and whereas bulls are more expensive but not any more prone to death or injury than they were in the past, and the number of claims hasn't increased significantly either in the same time frame, and whereas with higher premiums, the burden of proof has become higher as well, is as much or more of a problem than the premiums. Therefore, be it resolved that ABP consult with the purebred associations and the Canadian Beef Breeds Council to create a more feasible rate for premiums and more open burden of proof criteria, and or investigate the possibility for purebred breeders to insure bulls purchased from them by their clients with their own insurance fund for injury and mortality within the rules of the Alberta Securities Commission and the Insurance Act. This come out of the Southwest. Someone wish to move the resolution? Fred, thank you. Someone wish to second the resolution? Sheila? Would the mover wish to speak to the resolution?
I'm wishing that I could remember this discussion coming out of the Southwest zone, one of the resolution meetings. So there, apparently it's quite difficult for the seller and the buyer to insure this expensive seed stock. And I think the producer who brought this resolution forward was really looking for ways to make that process easier. There are barriers there, and I'm sorry, I can't tell the delegate body what those barriers are. We heard a little bit about it in the preamble, but yeah, other than that, that's about all I can say. It is a very busy resolution. I wish it would be much simpler.
Thanks, Fred. Would the seconder wish to speak to the resolution?
I'd just echo Fred's comments, especially on the last part about the busyness.
Okay. Anyone willing to speak in opposition to open discussion? Seeing
Howard,
none? What?
Howard, if nobody's going to speak in opposition of this, I'm going to.
Okay.
This is an issue of free market. We are short on, there aren't a lot of businesses that are currently in the livestock insurance business that are available to us as producers. It is free market. Claims are also extremely high right now. What is an insurance company supposed to do for burden of proof if somebody turns a bull out and doesn't look at it until October and then expects the insurance premium when he's had foot rot since the 1st of July? So I definitely am speaking in opposition of this.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. All right, the contingent of Lee, Graham, Jim, and Chris. One of you guys have a comment?
So changing technology here. We'll likely just, or I'll echo Kelly's sentiment. It's not sure if this is truly the role of the commission for this. This is more of a marketing initiative between the purebred guy or the seller of the bulls and the clients. So I don't think just not a fact. I don't think this is a place that the commission needs to work.
So who is that? Can you identify yourself, please, quick for the,
Oh, sorry, Chris Wilson.
yeah, Chris, I figured so. Thanks, Chris. Any other comments for? Any more discussion? Would the mover wish to close discussion?
No, I'm good.
Okay, mover waves. We'll call the question, all in favor. Looks like the resolution is defeated. Okay, we'll move on to resolution number 6. It's as follows. Whereas in the 2018 draw booklet under proposed changes, this was proposed to be implemented in 2019, but is yet to occur. The landowner's license was created to help landowners mitigate depredation and control population. The license should not be limited to a single season. Therefore, be it resolved that ABP lobby Environment and Parks to extend the landowner antlerless elk special license to be valid for all open seasons for which the license is valid. This come out of the Southeast. Would someone be willing to move the resolution?
Darren Bevins, I'm happy to move this one.
Okay, Darren. Anyone to second the resolution? Someone from the Lee, Graham, James, Chris contingency? Who's that? Graham?
Yeah, it's Graham here. I'll second that. And I'd like to put mule deer in there as well. Not just limited to antelope and elk.
Okay, well, we'll have to, that would be an amendment to the resolution, not changing the intent. So we have a mover and a seconder and a request for an amendment. So Roseanne, do we deal with the amendment first, I take it?
We'll just withdraw that amendment and work on this one for now.
You're gonna withdraw the amendment? Okay. All right, so the mover and seconder, anybody wishing to speak in opposition to the resolution to open discussion?
Howard, maybe we should let the mover.
Let the mover speak first. Yeah, I caught that as soon as I mentioned opening discussion. So Darren, as a mover, will you wish to speak to the resolution?
Yeah, just briefly. So really the intent behind this, if I remember correct, is that as a landowner with a special license, you can then use that for to help control where wildlife are at and how many are on your place. And by limiting it to just one season, it really restricts our ability to do that. So it, part of the purpose is eliminated. Certainly believe this would give landowners more tools, and it was already originally approved. So just like to see it happen.
Okay, would the seconder wish to speak to the resolution?
I'll echo Darren.
Okay. Any discussion to? Fred, go ahead.
So I'm gonna speak in opposition just to start this discussion. I just am unclear about this resolution. Does that mean that are we actually advocating multiple animals harvested by the landowner in every year? And is there a limit to that, or is there only one? Because it makes it sound like there may be more than one. And if we open it right up, I don't think that's good either. So I'm a little bit afraid about the ambiguity of this resolution.
The,
Go
sorry,
ahead, Darren.
the intent behind it was, as far as I understood, was for still one animal, just the ability to take that animal over like if you have a multi-season zone or management unit, that you could take that animal over, any of those 4 seasons or whatever. So it could be amended to, clarify that, but that the intent was one animal.
Okay. Brad, go ahead. Any further discussion at all?
Yes, sorry, I couldn't get my mute button off. Yeah, just to add to Darren's comments, like, for example, I think where this is coming from, and that's why it kind of, it mentions elk, is our multi-season elk hunt down here in southeastern Alberta is kind of what it's, that's where it came from, the whole background. So there's multiple seasons. And, in our case, for example, we may not have a herd of elk on the place in certain parts of the season, in certain seasons. And then all of a sudden we'll have 400 head, and we won't have a ticket or a tag for that season. So it was meant just to kind of utilize these landowner tags that we've got, if that makes any sense. I just thought it'd help for clarification there. So yeah, it's got to do with hunts, multiple hunts, not necessarily multiple years, just one single year, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in my zone, but that's how I remember it.
No, I think that's how I heard it as well. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, Brad's right. When you apply for a landowner permit or tag, you apply for whatever season and you get one tag. So basically what this resolution will do is allow you to use your landowner tag where there is multiple seasons, but it's only one tag. It's one special license. They just want to open it up to the different seasons if there is multiple seasons. Because when you apply for it, the landowner, you apply just for that one season. And like Brad said, if the animals aren't there on your land during that specific time, like say the month of November, they come in January, well, your tag's done because it was just for November. So it's just open it up for the landowners to use their one tag whenever there is a valid season.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, would the mover wish to close discussion? Darren, you wish to close discussion?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm ready to proceed.
Okay, thank you. The mover waves. We'll call the question. All in favor? That looks to me like the resolution is carried. Thank you very much. We'll move on to resolution 7. And it reads as follows. Be it resolved that ABP request Alberta Environment and Parks to place more emphasis on antlerless wildlife management of big game species and wildlife management units where populations are above goal. This come out of the southeast. Anyone willing to move the resolution?
This is Darren again. Yeah, I'll move that.
Thank you, Darren. Someone willing to second? Jason Hale. Thank you, Jason. Would the mover wish to speak to the resolution?
Sure, I would. Okay, so really the intent here is when there's population targets in a management unit, wildlife, numbers are above that. That rather than focusing as much on the trophies, that we put really encourage the department to really manage the females and control growth through that end of it. So I think it's pretty straightforward. Seems to make a lot of sense. It's likely going to happen with mule deer anyway, with the wildlife or the new mule deer management plan and the concerns about chronic wasting disease. But it seems to make a lot of sense to me. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Darren. Would the seconder wish to speak to the resolution?
Yeah, no, I'll just, I'll waive my comments. I agree with what Darren said.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Anyone willing to speak in opposition of the resolution to open discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor of the resolution, please raise your hand. I would say the motion is carried. Thank you. Move on to resolution number 8. Okay, and it's as follows. Whereas Cypress Hills Provincial Park withheld firearms discharge permits on Mondays and Saturdays during an either sex elk management hunt on Wildlife Management Unit 624 in the 2018-2019 hunting season, whereby hunters were legally authorized to do so under Section 46 of the Provincial Parks General Regulation. Cypress Hills has an elk management goal of a maximum Alberta overwintering population of 350 head. In February 2019, an aerial survey counted an overwintering Alberta population of 568 head elk. Since this time, the elk population has been allowed to continue to increase, and park hunting is an integral component of wildlife management in Cypress Hills. Therefore, be it resolved that ABP requests that the government of Alberta amend legislation to prevent future withholding of firearms discharge permits on legal hunting days. This come out of the Southeast. Would someone be willing to move the resolution? Brad Osadchuk. Someone willing to second the resolution? Brody Hogan. Thank you, Brody. Would the mover wish to speak to the resolution?
Be honest with you, not really. We talked about it as a group. It passed, but it's fairly, it's fairly yeah, it's all there. So I think I just wanted to move it just to get it going here. Self-explanatory.
Thank you. Would the seconder wish to speak to the resolution?
Yeah, same comments as Brad. The underlining tone of these was just the frustration of lack of support from the landowners within these groups that were making these decisions. So this is just another specific point of an issue that landowners didn't have a voice in. So.
Okay, thank you. Someone wish to speak again, speak to the resolution to start discussion? Colin Campbell? See your hands.
Just a point of clarification here. Are you telling me that the province designates certain time of year you can hunt, licenses people to hunt, and then forbids them from firing their rifle?
I think within the provincial park, Cypress Hill Provincial Park, I believe so. I'm not 100% sure. Does anybody from the Southeast Zone remember that discussion a little more clearly than I do? Brody, go ahead.
Yes, I believe that's how the conversation went. They're legally allowed to hunt during those days, but then the Cypress Hills Park overrides that and doesn't allow you to bring a firearm into the park.
Is the Cypress Hills Park an Alberta park or Saskatchewan?
Provincial.
Provincial.
Yeah, Alberta. There's on both either side. There's Saskatchewan as well.
Interesting.
Any more discussion? No further discussion. Would the mover wish to close discussion?
No, thanks, Chair.
Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor? I call the resolution is carried. Thank you. We'll move on now to the next resolution, number 9. Be it resolved that ABP requests the Alberta government, biologists and fish and wildlife officers work more closely with private landowners when dealing with predator conflicts out of the Southeast. Someone be willing to move the resolution? Brody? Someone willing to second the resolution? Jason? Thank you. Would the mover wish to open to speak to the resolution?
Yeah, so this goes back to a specific issue that came out of our area. They had very frustrated with the lack of activity that they saw from any official or the government. And I guess this goes back to Mark's update earlier in the meeting. And there's already been movement on this particular front. So I believe this is an easy win for ABP. We're already going in the right direction to support this.
Would the seconder wish to speak to the resolution?
Yeah, I agree with Brody. I'll just be quick. I do know it is a little tough, for the fish and wildlife guys. They've cut their budget quite a bit. I know in Brooks, they used to have an office there. Now they don't even have an office anymore. So, I think we just have to keep working with them, and it is an issue, the predator conflicts. So, if we just keep on top of the issue and keep working with the government to try to come up with some solutions, it'll do the landowners well. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, would anybody wish to speak in opposition to open discussion? Fred Lozman?
So I'm going to speak in opposition just so that this resolution doesn't hamstring our attempts. For instance, if ABP gets involved in, as we already are in the predator coexistence program, will this possibly reduce? Will this resolution reduce our options if we're trying to implement that program? Is it too restrictive? you know, perhaps it isn't, perhaps the language is open enough that it doesn't restrict us from going other ways, but yeah, I just wonder if it's in the spirit of the wildlife the predator coexistence program.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Discussion is open. Any more discussion? Okay. Seeing none, would the mover wish to close discussion?
Yeah, I don't believe it was the purpose of the individual who brought this forward to hamstring ABP in any way. He was just looking for any possible positive direction in these issues. So, yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Discussion is closed. We'll call the question. All in favor of the resolution? The resolution is carried. Thank you. Okay, move on to resolution 10. Be it resolved that ABP continue to work with partner organizations to lobby Justice and Solicitor General to increase the presence and fill vacant positions of fish and wildlife officers in areas that currently lack. This come out of the Southeast. Someone willing to move the resolution? Brody? Someone willing to second the resolution? Jason, thank you. Would the mover wish to speak to the resolution?
Thank you, Howard. Yeah, so this goes back to the lack of support we're seeing. It's probably across the province and especially in the Southeast when it comes to vacant positions within the Fish and Wildlife Office. First-hand knowledge of our own operation, we've had to wait up to 2 days to have a Fish and Wildlife Officer actually show up when we have issues with hunters. We've even seen scenarios where people shut their entire operations down, massive land bases, and basically say, unless the government gives us an actual Fish and Wildlife Officer that will be here in a timely manner, we aren't opening up to anyone to access our property. So this is again just trying to show the government that we need support if we're going to continue to work with them with land access and improve our accessibilities and have a positive relationship with the public.
Thank you. Would the seconder wish to speak to the resolution?
Yeah, I'll just kind of echo my previous comments. There is, I think it comes down to funding. There's a lack of funding for fish and wildlife, and it's been going on for quite a few years, but you know, whatever we can do to work with them, I guess, to try to get some more officers. I know this past hunting season, I think the reason it took 2 days for the officer to get to Bros is because he was up here in my area. We were overrun with hunters. So yeah, it's you know, it's a lot of work for the Fish and Wildlife officers, but basically it's going to come down to the budget, and if they can pay those positions that we need.
Thank you, Jason. Anyone willing to speak in opposition to begin discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? The resolution is carried. Okay, thank you. We'll go on to resolution number 11. Whereas the Alberta beef producers currently support the Young Cattlemen's Council by supplying a representative from Alberta and the Cattlemen's Young Leaders Program through the Canadian Cattlemen's Association, but they fail to engage the youth from Alberta that participate in the programs. Therefore, be it resolved that ABP actively engage all individuals from Alberta involved with the Young Cattlemen's Council and the Cattlemen's Young Leaders. This came out of the Southeast. Somebody be willing to move the resolution? Brody? Thank you, Brody. Was somebody willing to second the resolution? Kent Holloway? Thank you, Ken. Would the mover wish to speak to the resolution?
Thank you, Howard. So I've actually been a part of both of these programs, and in the 6 years of my involvement with ABP, I've realized that ABP as a group doesn't really utilize the potential that these groups of youth have created, and we don't tap into it. We actually fund like the Young Cattlemen's Council out of our budget every year, and I can't even say off the top of my head who our representative is from ABP. I think especially when we start talking about budget constraints and trying to figure out where we can get the most leverage from, this is an incredible source of talented young individuals who are already putting their hands up to get involved in our industry. And least we can do is send them an email, give them a phone call, and ask them to be involved, because I think we'll have a lineup of people. Lastly, I'll make the comment that during these changes to the ABP structure, I've noticed a lot of young people were the ones that stepped back from the organization. I don't believe we have as many young people involved moving forward, and I'd like to see that change moving forward as we get the ball rolling with this new structure. So this is just to make sure we keep connected to the programs that we are funding and supporting.
Thank you, Brody. Would the seconder wish to speak to the resolution?
Yeah, I just echo Brody's sentiments there. I think we really need to engage the youth in these programs and get them involved in our organization, and so hopefully they'll be with us for the future, eh? So that's all.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, would anyone willing to speak in opposition to open discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor of the resolution? The resolution is carried. Thank you. Now, I believe we have one more resolution yet that came in off the floor. Resolution number 12. It reads as follows. Be it resolved that ABP lobby the provincial and federal governments to maintain pressure on the Alberta oil and gas industry to close orphan wells and reclaim abandoned oil and gas sites so as to remove the threat of livestock poisoning and death and the landowner expense of building and maintaining perimeter fencing of abandoned sites. This was moved by Melanie Woke. Is that correct, Melanie?
Yes.
Was there someone willing to second the resolution?
Emil Demetra.
Emil, thank you. Would the mover wish to speak to the resolution?
Yes, so I brought this forward. I've had several meetings with different groups where this has come up again. It's kind of off my radar for a while, and I really forgot how important it was until I attended a conference where there was a group of mature cattle that they ended up having 5 mature cows die from lead poisoning from leftover batteries. It still remains a big problem. Funding has come from federal and provincial sides. I think it was close to $1 billion in 2017. I find it hard to believe that a lot of that money was spent and used for this. It just seems like there's still a lot out there. There's also, it was brought up that there's often noxious weeds growing in these areas because they are abandoned. And it is the producer's responsibility to keep their cows out. So there's an expense to building such enclosures and keeping your cows out. I just felt that the oil and gas sector really has to be held to the same level of accountability as ranchers are in regards to the environment.
Thank you, Melanie. Would the seconder wish to speak to the resolution?
No, I think Mel covered it.
Okay, the seconder waives. Anyone to speak in opposition to open discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Okay. So thank you very much for your participation and input and helping to set the direction for the organization for the coming year. This concludes the portion, our 2021 AGM. I'd like to now call on Chair Kelly Smith Fraser, who will share a few parting words. Kelly?
Thank you, Howard. I would like to conclude the meeting with the following acknowledgements. Thank you to our guests that have attended. I know it's been one more Zoom meeting to attend, but we really do appreciate your interest in our organization. I'd like to thank you, Howard, as our annual general meeting chair. You have been absolutely the host with the most, and for the most part, you've actually kept us on track. I'd like to thank the ABP staff members for your work on this meeting. We are all experiencing Zoom fatigue, but without you, this meeting would not have ran as well. And a special thanks to all of the delegates for a cooperative and productive meeting. On a personal note, seeing as this is also my farewell as your chairperson of ABP, I would especially like to thank Brad Dubois and his staff for their never wavering support of the beef producers of Alberta. You have been burning the candle, all of you have been burning the candle at both ends to not only anticipate and react to the multitude of challenges this year that have been brought forward, but you have done so much to transform this organization. You truly all are the backbone and the strength of ABP. I would like to thank our preceding chairs for their mentorship and their guidance throughout my journey to this year. My family has sacrificed so much while I have been on the executive. I would like to thank them for their patience and supporting me through the good times, the bad times, and even the frustrating. My amazing family, my husband Scott, my daughter Aubrey, and my mom Christine have sacrificed much, and for that I am eternally grateful. I have never wanted to quit doing what I was doing because they supported my determination and my desire to improve this organization and this industry. As I look back on this year and my years on the board, I'm incredibly proud of the many successes that I have achieved along with my fellow board members of the times. They weren't easy wins, but they were big wins that our fellow producers will feel the effects for many years to come. My goal has always been to do what's best, not just for my neighbors and my friends in the industry, but to represent this industry across the province. The best way forward is to take all producers into consideration in Alberta, not just those across the fence or on the other side of the ranch gate. I leave you with a quote from President Obama. The cynics may be the loudest voices, but I promise you, they will accomplish the least. And with that, I move that the 2021 Alberta Beef Producers Annual General Meeting be adjourned.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you for your service. So I'll move it over to Brad for any housekeeping items. I think you're muted, Brad.
boy, won't it be great when this part is done and we're faced. Well, I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you very much to Kelly and all of her service over the past year. Her dedication to myself and the staff has been wonderful. And of course, to the rest of the executive and the board of directors. Very much appreciated all of the support as we move forward. In 15 minutes, folks, we are going to move to a board meeting. So I would suggest that we will come back at 3:05. At 3:05, it will just be the new board that will come back, and we will fill some executive positions. At this point in time, again, I'd like to say thank you very much to all of the delegates, and as well as all of our invited guests and attendees. We appreciate you being with us today. And with that, we will see you all next year, hopefully in Red Deer.